being out here in the cold makes me think of one of my favorite subjects, which is how I heat my cargo trailer, because I'm looking at it here sitting in the driveway and I'm anxious to get it out and do some camping and some traveling this year. So anyways, I got a couple minutes more work to do here, and then I want to show you the different systems that we've used, or the different things that we've tried to warm up that cargo trailer. Some of them have failed miserably, and I've got one in there right now that I really like, and I think you'll like it too. Anyways, be back with you in a few minutes here. And this on the outside, it's a converted 6x10 Stealth brand cargo trailer. It's fully insulated, including the floor, rear door, side door, everything's insulated. And we've towed the trailer for thousands and thousands of miles all over the western United States, western half of the United States. Tows real well. What we do is, what we sometimes do is we take our four-wheeler along, and we've got it made inside so that the bunks fold up out of the way, and we can put our four-wheeler in there. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about different ways that we've heated our converted cargo trailer. And that trailer is one we built strictly for camping, for traveling, and we needed something that was convenient and that would heat that little trailer on those cold mornings, wintertime, spring, even summertime. Sometimes you get up in the mountains and it's chilly in the mornings and you just want to take the chill off before you get up, and that's what we were looking for. The first thing we started out with is we had purchased a Mr. Heater Big Buddy. That's those red and black heaters, you see them in Walmart. And the Big Buddy has the two burners on it. And we had purchased that initially for a 10x10 canvas tent, and it worked extremely well in that tent. It was fine for that. And I think that's what they were basically designed for. But I went ahead and installed that in the trailer, and you know, they'll run off of a 1-pound propane cylinder, or you can run them off a 20-pound bottle. You buy the hose, and they're perfectly safe. They have an oxygen sensor on them and a tip-over sensor, and they're safe. And of course, on anything like that, you got to leave your window cracked or your windows open a bit. Maybe leave the vent and the roof open a little bit. But the first thing we ran into with that heater was it was hot. It was way too much for our little 6x10. And the problem was, when I turned it down on low, the flame would kind of flicker and flutter and it would put off fumes. So it was really efficient on high, but we couldn't use it on high. And on low, it was fumy. So what we did is we went out and bought the Little Buddy, which has just the single burner on it. And we thought we had it made. So I went ahead and put that in. And that did appear to work. But one day in the middle of February, we had to make an emergency trip to Seattle. And we had that heater along, and you know Seattle, especially in February, it's wet. And the air was really humid. And on top of that, those non-vented propane heaters, like the Mr. Heater series, they put out the byproduct is moisture, is H2O. That's what they put out. And that little heater would make it rain inside. I mean, the windows were running with water, and any metal trim was all running with water, and it was so damp inside. And on top of that, I found out that I couldn't stand infrared heat. So, and I've read other people that say it gives them a headache or it makes their head feel weird. And what they do is they turn the heater around and they face it away from them. Well, now you don't have the heat facing at you. So it does do that. Some people are susceptible to that. And I remember when I was a kid, my father used to tell me, we had an infrared heat lamp that you'd use if you had a joint pain or something, or a muscle ache, and you'd put the infrared heat lamp on whatever part of your body was bothering you, and there was a 15-minute time limit. I remember my father telling me back then that infrared cooks from the inside out. So there is something about those infrared waves that does make people's heads sometimes feel a little wonky. And I didn't feel very good when I was sitting in front of that heater. It made me feel weird. So mainly because of that, and also because of the incredible amount of moisture we knew we needed something else. But before I want to go on to something else, I want to go back to the moisture thing here for a minute. If you're living in a van or you're traveling in a van, and you're in a dry atmosphere, like you're spending your time down in the desert, and you want some auxiliary heat, I think those Mr. Heaters are great for that, if you're in a dry atmosphere. But if it's a rainy day, you're not going to like it very much because of the extra moisture it puts out. Now, if you're in a Class C, those are framed up with untreated wood, little 2x2s in your roof and everything. And the sides, it's all framed up out of untreated 2x2s, wood. And on the outside of that, you have your aluminum or your fiberglass skin. Well, what's going to happen when you're using a Mr. Heater in a damp environment, in putting all that moisture in the air, is you're going to cause condensation on the other side of your insulation on that outer skin. And you're going to rot your vehicle from the inside out if you're using it a lot. So I don't recommend them for a Class C at all. But we needed something drier and a better heat, and I decided to do something else. Let me show you what I did. What I did is I built a ammo can stove, and there's so many videos on YouTube about these. I'm going to show you this one in a little bit of detail because I built it without welding. There really isn't too much to it. I took a few days to build it. It's a tall ammo can, as you can see. And I just built it out of scraps. It's nothing fancy. The bottom is on the top because I wanted a nice flat surface for cooking. And I vented it out the back instead of out the top to give me more room for cooking. And the nice thing is, when you take it out to dump it, all you do is you trip the door over here like you would on an ammo can, and all the ash falls out the bottom quite easily. It's really easy to dump that way. I can even take it outside with live ash in it, carried out by the legs, and dump it. Fires right up. It's got a baffle in the top that makes the smoke travel this way before it goes out. So it holds a little more heat in the stove, and it also helps arrest sparks. I cut the door a little too big, so when I was opening it, I was having a problem with smoke coming out here. So I just put this metal shield in to lower the opening a little bit. I've burned charcoal in here, especially that mesquite, the chunks of raw wood. I've burned wood pellets in here, and of course, plain old wood. So this stove works beautifully. Any little wood burner that you could get would work beautifully. This one just happened to be free for me. But it also has its problems. Now, the best thing about it is that it's really nice heat. It's that warm, dry heat. And this little stove didn't have any trouble heating that little camper up at all. It put out plenty of heat. But some of the problems were it runs for about 2 hours, You can load it up, it'll run for about 2 hours. So it won't go all night. So when you wake up in the morning, if it's 20 degrees outside, it's 25 or 27 inside. So that wasn't too good. So yours truly was always the one who gets to get up in the morning and get the stove going to warm it up. And the other thing is that lots of times when we travel, we usually only spend 1 or 2 nights in any given spot. We like to move around a lot, and you're constantly dealing with dumping the ash, and you have to be so careful about live ash. And also, what if you spend the night in a Walmart parking lot? What are you supposed to do? In the morning you fire up the stove to warm up the camper, and then now you've got a burning stove, and maybe you want to get on the road, and you still have live ash. So there's that problem. Also, the carrying the wood. You've got a 5-gallon or 2 5-gallon buckets full of wood that you have to haul around all the time, so you've got fuel for your stove. Then there's the smoke coming out the chimney. In some areas, especially if you're trying to stealth camp, it ain't happening. You've got smoke coming out the chimney, and even in like a Walmart parking lot, you've got smoke coming out the chimney. And we've done that. We've camped out behind the Cracker Barrel restaurants and things like that as we travel, and yeah, there's smoke coming out the chimney. But we sure love the heat. So I had to kind of try to come up with something that was similar to this, only without the inconveniences. So let me show you the next thing we did. Oh, the lighting's not too bad. This is called a NuWay stove, and this is what I've got installed in the little 6x10 camper now. And basically what that is, it's for heating ice shacks. So they're made back in Michigan or Minnesota or someplace, I think Michigan, and it's spelled N-U, capital W-A-Y. I'll be sure and put a link to them. The thing about this NuWay stove, as you can see, is it's vented, and so any fumes are going out. It's propane, and there's a little tiny stack up on top of the roof, and we found one that's okay while we're driving and everything. We don't have to worry about it. I can run this stove all night, and it's warm in here in the morning. I just turn it down a bit so we don't get up to a freezing cold camper on the chilly mornings. It's easy to light. You can adjust the heat up and down. They come in several different sizes. This is the smallest one. My daughter in her 7x14 has the next size up. In this camper, which has got, it's only 1-inch insulation in the walls, styrofoam, and it's 1.5 inches in the ceiling and a couple inches in the floor. But if it's 20 degrees outside, it's easy for me to keep it 70 degrees inside, even a little hotter. If it gets down to in the like 10 degrees or something like that, fully cranking, this is only going to keep it about 60 or 65 in here. But we're usually not out on the road when it's that cold. But this has been the answer. This is a dry heat, just like a wood-burning stove without the mess. I do leave the window cracked a little bit. It's not because I'm worried about the fumes so much, because it is vented, but this is pulling air out, so you've got to let air in somewhere. So I generally open the window up just about this much. You have to let about as much air in as is going up this 3-inch flue over here. But it keeps everything really comfortable, and I highly recommend it. I did write an article about this that appeared in Backwoodsman magazine. I feel that strongly about these stoves. I think they're just excellent. There's hardly any heat that comes out the back here. It's warm on my hand. You can see I've got this diamond plate up here just to protect the wood in case. But underneath the stove and and behind the stove, the metal actually stays cool back here. But it puts out a decent amount of heat. So that's our answer. This is what we think is the best. It's dry heat, warm heat, leave it on all night heat. And if you've got room for something like this, this is what I would suggest that you go with also. Anyways, if you like this video, please be sure to hit like and always subscribe. That helps me out a lot. And hit that notification bell down in the lower right hand corner, and that way you'll be notified when I come up with another video. See you around.